April 30th, 1945. Berlin burns as Soviet forces close in on Hitler's underground lair. At 3:30 p.m., according to official history, the Führer puts a pistol to his head and pulls the trigger, ending the Third Reich and the most destructive war in human history. But what if that's not what happened? What if the man who orchestrated the Holocaust, who plunged the world into chaos, simply walked away? For 80 years, declassified documents, eyewitness contradictions, and mysterious sightings have suggested an impossible truth. Adolf Hitler may have escaped Berlin alive. The official account reads like the final act of a Shakespearean tragedy. As Soviet artillery pounded Berlin in April 1945, Hitler retreated to his Führerbunker, a concrete labyrinth 55 feet beneath the Reich Chancellery. On April 29th, he married his longtime mistress Eva Braun in a brief civil ceremony. The next day, as enemy forces reached within blocks of the bunker, Hitler retired to his private study with his new bride. According to bodyguard Rochus Misch and valet Heinz Linger, they heard a single gunshot around 3:30 p.m. Hitler's aide Heinz Linger claimed he found both bodies in Hitler's study. The Führer shot through the right temple, Eva poisoned by cyanide. Following Hitler's explicit instructions, the bodies were carried upstairs to the Chancellery garden, doused with gasoline, and burned to ash as Soviet shells exploded nearby. By May 4th, Soviet forces had captured the bunker. Stalin's intelligence chief, Lavrenti Beria, personally oversaw the investigation. The Soviets claimed they found charred bone fragments and dental remains that were identified as Hitler's by his dentist's assistant. The monster was dead. The war was over. Justice, it seemed, had been served. This version became historical orthodoxy, repeated in textbooks and documentaries for decades. Hitler the coward had chosen suicide over capture, denying the Allies their chance at justice, but ensuring his regime died with him. But the official story began unraveling almost immediately, starting with Stalin himself. Despite having Hitler's alleged remains, the Soviet dictator spent years insisting to Allied leaders that Hitler had escaped. "We have found no corpse that could be Hitler's," Stalin told Allied commanders. Was this disinformation, or did Stalin know something the world didn't? The physical evidence was troubling. In 2009, DNA testing of skull fragments the Russians claimed were Hitler's revealed they actually belonged to a woman between 20 and 40 years old. The dental evidence, long considered definitive proof, was based solely on Soviet accounts and sketches. The actual dental remains vanished into KGB archives and have never been independently verified. Even more disturbing were the contradictory witness accounts. Hitler's bodyguard Rochus Misch later claimed he never actually saw the bodies, only heard the gunshot. Bunker telephone operator Johannes Henschel told interrogators he saw no evidence of bodies being burned in the garden. Soviet intelligence found no trace of human ash or bone fragments where the cremation allegedly took place. The escape routes were there. Berlin's extensive tunnel system connected to subway lines that reached the outskirts of the city. A pilot named Hans Bauer, Hitler's personal aviator, claimed he had aircraft ready for evacuation until the final hours. Most intriguingly, declassified FBI documents from 1945 detail multiple reports of Hitler sightings in South America. with some sources claiming Nazi submarines had been spotted off the Argentine coast in the war's final weeks. And then there was Operation Bernhard, a massive Nazi counterfeiting operation that produced perfect British pounds and American dollars. Billions in fake currency had vanished from Nazi treasuries. If Hitler planned to escape, he would have needed untraceable funds. The money trail led to Swiss banks and South American accounts that remained active long after the war ended. If Hitler didn't die in the bunker, where did he go? Decades of investigation have produced several compelling theories. The Argentine theory. In 1945, Argentina was a natural haven for fleeing Nazis. President Juan Perón's government secretly welcomed high-ranking German officials. FBI files document numerous Hitler sightings near Bariloche, a German-speaking community in the Andes. In 2011, architect Abel Basti claimed to have identified the exact ranch where Hitler lived until his death in 1962, protected by a network of former SS officers. The submarine escape theory. 2 German U-boats surrendered in Argentina months after the war ended, U-530 and U-977. Their captains offered contradictory explanations for their delayed surrender. Declassified US Navy documents reveal these submarines had the range to travel from Germany to South America. Were they part of a larger evacuation operation? The Vatican ratlines theory. The Catholic Church operated secret escape routes called ratlines that smuggled Nazi officials to South America. Bishop Alois Hudal and other Vatican officials issued false documents to war criminals. Some researchers believe Hitler himself may have used these networks, possibly with the knowledge that his death had been faked. The doppelganger theory. Hitler was known to use body doubles for security. Some investigators believe the man who died in the bunker was actually Gustav Welle, one of Hitler's documented doubles. The real Hitler, according to this theory, had already escaped Berlin using his doppelganger's identity. The most chilling possibility is that Hitler lived out his days in comfortable exile, never facing justice for his crimes. Some investigators claim he died peacefully in South America in the 1960s, surrounded by loyal followers who kept his secret until their own deaths. History demands closure. Justice requires certainty. We want to believe that evil faces consequences, that monsters don't simply vanish into comfortable obscurity. The official story of Hitler's suicide provides that closure, a fitting end to a regime built on lies and brutality. But what if our need for narrative satisfaction has blinded us to uncomfortable truths? The physical evidence is compromised, the witness accounts are contradictory, the supposed remains have been proven false. Meanwhile, declassified documents continue to reveal the extent of Nazi escape networks that successfully smuggle thousands of war criminals to freedom. For 80 years, we've lived with the comforting certainty that Hitler died in his bunker, a coward's death befitting a coward's life. But certainty and truth aren't always the same thing. The man who caused the deaths of 70 million people, who orchestrated humanity's darkest chapter, may have authored one final deception, his own death. Did the Führer die in his concrete tomb beneath Berlin, or did he escape to live out his days unpunished? The bunker keeps its secrets. The witnesses are dead. The evidence remains maddeningly incomplete. Perhaps some mysteries are too terrible to solve. Perhaps some truths are too dark to accept. Or perhaps, somewhere in the declassified files still being released, the real answer waits to finally close this chapter of history. What do you believe happened in those final days in Berlin? The comments section awaits your verdict.